Hello, and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Podcast. This is the back of the bus session.
Hello and welcome to the Old Farm Bus, Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. Today I've got a mate on the bus. He's been here before. I'm very excited about this one. He's in the best band in the universe. And Ferocious Dog. Mate, the top two bands, maybe they're both par with each other, but Alex Smith, welcome to the bus.
Thanks, mate. It's good to be back.
Yeah. No, nobody ever gives me that reaction. They just look over like, what is he doing? Like, this is my thing. Alex, I love your name, mate, because it looks like you've opened the yellow book pages and pointed at a name and just a list of Alex Smiths.
Yeah, that's true. It's not all that original, but
it's you though. You're very original. There's only one Alex Smith in my life, mate. Actually, there's two, but you're my favourite.
I'll take that.
How on earth have you been keeping up, man? Because my knowledge of you, I think you're a mate, and the thing that I really love about you and respect about you is you're tenacious as fuck. You're just a hard worker. You're a really fun guy to be around, but there's an element of seriousness about you, or you want to achieve in your life, and I love it. Now, COVID world, we've all been just shut away. You're not doing your thing anymore, particularly musicians and artists and creatives.
Yeah.
How did that affect you? What happened to your mindset in that?
I sort of, towards the beginning, it was a big blow because we had a full year of live music cancelled as if overnight, as everybody did. And I almost feel like there was a little bit of novelty about it at the beginning. You know, nobody really knew what was happening. We thought it was going to be a really short process, and it was like, oh, by autumn we'll be back on tour. And like I was saying to you earlier, I'm glad I didn't know then what I know now and how long it was going to last. I'm sure everybody feels the same. But yeah, it seems like there's no end in sight, does it? But
it was like, Ebola. Can you remember when that came out? Yeah. I was in South Africa at the time, really? And it was just this massive stir. Oh my God, apocalypse is upon us. And then it sort of just simmered down in a few months. It was not around for a very long time. I don't know the reason behind all that, but this was one I remember at the start, talking to Chrissy, calming down, just going, it's all right. It's just another one of those news scandals or something that comes out in the height of things. We're going to be fine. We'll be back to normal. It'll be a month tops.
Yeah.
And then it just kept going and going. And
3 weeks it was originally, wasn't it?
Were you one of those like myself where every morning you were putting on a brave face and being sound with everyone around, but you'd go behind and start checking the statistics, like how many deaths a day and so on?
Yeah.
Did you do that?
Certainly for a long time at the beginning.
I did.
I don't really look now because it's a bit depressing, isn't it, at the minute? Especially after this most recent 4-week extension and that sort of thing. Because it was like, it's almost as if they're teasing us now.
Yeah.
Musicians, we're the first to go, we're the last to come back.
Giving us a strip tease.
Yeah, it's like we've started having bookings in, the summer's filled out, and then every time there's one like 2 weeks away, it's like, oh, sorry, 4 more weeks lockdown, and they're all gone again. So it's like, I feel as if I can't quite look forward to something until I'm there.
It's like gaslighting, isn't it?
Literally, yeah.
They manipulated you to the point of I can't quite be happy again. I'm just on the precipice of it's coming, but don't work yourself up.
Yeah,
I know exactly how you feel, man. Mind manipulation. But you're in two very high functioning, successful bands. So before a COVID or anything, was there loads in the pipeline? Was it completely booked out and full?
Oh, definitely, yeah. It was. It was sort of bittersweet in a way. So that I had a full year planned out with both Ferocious Dog and Concrete Rose, and it's quite a job to fit the two around each other. Of
course.
But I like to think I've mastered it now. Yeah. And it was, so we lost all that obviously, but then the freedom that we had from COVID is that we then got an offer with Ferocious Dog to sign to Graphite Records to record our new album, and it sort of gave us the time that we wouldn't have otherwise had to write it and to actually put everything into this new album. So we've sort of spoken about it, and it's for Ferocious Dog in particular, it's been a bit of, we have managed to get something out of it that we would have never done otherwise, because all the other albums we've done with Ferocious Dog, because we're gigging all year round. We've sort of written albums in the week or between shows. You know what I mean? So it gave us the time to just take several months out to focus on nothing else but this album.
Wow.
So I do feel like, in that sense, we've come out of it we've definitely achieved something that we wouldn't have otherwise done.
And do you feel, because it wasn't so sporadic, is it one of the best albums you've done?
It's the best album we've ever done.
The best album?
Absolutely. Yeah.
How many songs in this album?
I don't know if I can...
No, don't
disclose
worry,
that,
I won't
actually,
get you in no trouble nor nothing, mate. No trouble.
To be honest, there are that many that... We've recorded that many that I don't actually even know how many.
Really? Okay, so and you've not actually seen all the number or how they're ordered or anything like that?
Yeah. I've got that stuff.
You got hidden knowledge, baby. Yeah. I love it. And you're just completely, absolutely proud of this one. You feel... everything it could have been, it surpassed.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what I mean when I say about COVID, is that we could have never done an album at this level were it not for that. So, you know, pros and cons. But
I love the bittersweetness. I think that's a great concept, because a lot of people I've spoken to, the creative side of things, I ask that question and they come through with a totally different response to what I imagined, because my mindset of it all was doom and gloom, and I felt really unhappy that I'd lost all my schoolwork, or we'd just started the buses and the business up. You saw it where it used to be, just parked out the way. We had cables just going up to it, the lights kept flickering, going on and off, and now we managed to get it in a location. It kind of looks like a venue now. I think we're 70% there. We got to that level. I was really proud of it. I was so ready for everything, and just lights out, gone. But meeting people like yourself and other creatives who span it on its head and said, yes, but this is what's come out of it, it's kind of helped me change my philosophy up. It's changed my mindset towards it. I was like, yeah, but actually, you know, the government aren't my favourite people in the world, but some funds had come out there, some grants, we had a little bit of help here and there. We got to put a little bit more time and effort into it and grow it past what it was before. So I love that bittersweetness of it. And
I can see that even arriving this morning, I can see
Thank you, man.
The same sort of thing is that you've obviously had the time and the resources during the lockdown to turn this into something that you wouldn't have necessarily had the time to do if you were still putting on events, and if you know what I mean.
And I think that's what COVID's done, to be honest, is shown people the value of time and what you can actually do with it, because we were all in such a fast-paced rat race, moving. Even if you loved it, like I was loving my life and my job and the filmmaking and that, but I didn't stop. There was no moment of taking a breather and thinking about the next and the next. It was just already there, written for me. Were you very scheduled as well?
Yeah, always. I'm really funny about being productive every day. So that I think that was the hardest thing for me, is that the gigs were gone. So it's then motivating myself to still practice every day. When sometimes you sort of feel like, what is it all for, when I know I can't gig for the foreseeable. But I do enjoy practicing. It's what makes my day.
Really?
So it's like playing every day. And I think this year has been more difficult than last year, because it's certainly when we went into that whatever it was, 3 months or something, solid lockdown at the beginning of the year, was trying to stay motivated. It's the time of year as well when all you want to do is look forward to what you've got coming up, but then you've got nothing coming up because for that reason. You know, it was like just trying to maintain that focus throughout. It was harder than it was last year, because like I say, there was almost a little bit of novelty about it. Nobody really knew what was happening, and it felt like it was a short-term thing.
I think as humans, when you see people really struggling with their life, it's because they're lacking purpose. They have no direction of where they're going, and I've definitely felt that. Like, I've put on some weight, man. But I did my ACL, so I ruptured my ACL and MCL in my knee, and I was always ready to box for a fight. I was trying to get into bouts. I had football ahead of me. I was looking forward to the next games. There were some weeks where it would literally be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. I had a game every day. I just loved it so much all the time. But I was so excited. In the day, I was looking forward to how the game was going to go, how I was going to ping the ball across to Chrissy Bradder on the far-hand side and all this. It was so exciting. And as soon as my injury removed that sense of purpose for myself, I really went into turmoil. I just completely struggled. And imagining you know, Concrete Rose, this gig coming up here, then you're thinking of Ferocious Dog tour going off here, like constantly being on the build up. Dude, to have that wiped out. I mean, did you have days in your pants being unproductive at all, or can't you live that?
I can't do it. Even when I want to, it's like, because I found that because I no longer had live music to focus on, I did sort of invest into the practicing like I always have done. But working out was a big thing for me, and keeping fit was that sort of filled that gap that had been left by live music temporarily, of course, but it gave me something to focus on every day and another way to remain productive. I also started a degree as well.
No way.
Yeah, history degree. So
because I mean, right, the last podcast we did, Mikey Markham ballsed it up a little bit. I mean, I watched it back, I was happy with it, but I'm blaming Joey Collins. You know Joey Collins, don't you?
I know Joey,
yeah. He got sat down, getting comfortable, moved the mic, like being a rock star he is, just span it round, and I just didn't look at it after because I had them 2 podcasts in that day. And I think he did it on purpose. He knew you were coming. He's like, I'm going to outdo him.
Actually, I went before him.
Oh, did
yeah.
Okay, so that story's an elaborate lie. Yeah. it was definitely me that's ruined it all.
Yeah, I'm going to be forced to stick up for Joey.
I must have turned it round. Sorry, Joey Collins. I love you very much. I didn't mean it. So it was me that ballsed it up, turn it round. So. But yeah, I didn't realise, Mike, so you don't have much technical knowledge either, do you?
Closer to none.
Yeah, I'm just a milestone above that to about a centimetre. And yeah, I didn't realise mics have a forward facing and back facing. So I've done that a few times. I've sent like drafts over to producers, and when I've done my music, they're just like, dude, what is this? Just like man in a box sort of style stuff.
Yeah.
So I knackered that up, but in that podcast I do remember us talking about your love for history. So now you've actually gone and ventured into the realms of history.
Yes.
Could you see this becoming a job for you?
Well, that's the thing, is that I just love history. I find it really interesting. My passion is music. History is sort of second. And it's like, I've always wanted to study history just to become a better historian, or maybe to get to a level where I can write about history. So when COVID came, and I all of a sudden found myself totally available for a year.
You love COVID, man. You smashed life.
Yeah, maybe I'm giving the wrong impression.
You had the best time ever.
I just want music back, really, I swear. But yeah, so I think it was about last August when my sister came home from uni for the summer, and I was talking about how I'd like to do history as a degree, and she was like, well, why don't you do it now, while you've got at least a year free? And I was like, it's too late to sign up for what would be last September. She was like, no, it's not. They've still got, if you do it in the next couple of weeks. I was like, yeah, all right. So I just sort of there and then wrote up an application over a week, sent it off, and ended up getting a place to study history at Nottingham Trent through clearing.
Wow.
And it was like, so within the space of a couple of weeks, I wasn't going to uni, it just wasn't a thing. And well, maybe one day, to actually being fully signed up and started the course a few weeks later.
This is fantastic.
By the time I start gigging it, I've just finished my first year, so done the first of 3.
What's it like online?
Because I don't know any different. It's you know what I mean. It was like we went in for the first few occasions, and I really like meeting people. I just love to interact face to face. So I was really enjoying that side of it, the social side of it. But within the first few weeks, it was like, right, we're going to work from home, and we just never went back. So I've not even been on campus for several months. So I sort of got used to it.
Is there a bit of sweetness of that as well?
I guess there's less travelling.
Yeah, that helps.
Like I say, I much prefer interacting face to face.
I just wondered, do you know when I'm in my own space?
Yeah.
I feel a bit more focused because I get to be in my own surroundings. I think they did a study with kids, and particularly they noticed some really excelling in their exams at the moment, and it's because they've not had to deal with those sort of social surroundings of like bullying, anxiety and all that. So their grades have just absolutely gone over the roof.
I get that.
And not that I'd be going to uni and getting like nuggied and all that, but I suppose going in and having so much surroundings and things to deal with, being just there, sat at your computer, you've got your cup of tea, you're comfortable in your surrounding, maybe you're a bit more focused in that.
Yeah, I guess sometimes I find it harder to focus if you're listening to somebody talk through a computer. It's not the same, is it? And I know they can't see me, so I'm giving it a bit of that. And I haven't got to even be polite. Whereas when I'm in the room with somebody, you're engaging with them, you're looking at them. So I think I find it a lot easier to focus. Saying that, also, because I'm an older student and I'm going, so I'm 25 and I'm in with
Bloody
people.
Hell, mate.
I know, can you tell?
You wrote your will yet?
And it's like, and obviously most of the students are like 18, 19, so it's sort of, I almost feel a bit like I've got nothing to prove. I'm not there to sort of look cool. I'm just like the old guy in the corner who's actually enjoying the course. And
I've done 3 teaching sessions with unis. I worked for Sheffield Hallam and did Martin Illingworth got me in. My man, he's got a book out called Forget School, and we go into schools together. But he gets me in to teach his newly qualified teachers on how to engage hard to reach students on poetry. So I remember that session, and it went really well. I was so nervous about it because I've been in and out, and I sort of got in the rhythm of how to teach, be with a class. My exercises are very engaging. We're just throwing paper or drawing faces. Try and make it really fun, because I really struggled at school. Education, I think we've been through it before, but I got asked to leave eventually. I just wasn't working for the mainstream idea of what education is. I couldn't fit that mould. But my mindset towards it is, I think everybody in that school is an independent thinker. They've all got their own way of learning, and some just need it sort of firing up a little bit, exciting, and I needed that. I was told to sort of sit down and shut up. So I try and make my sessions into that workspace where everybody's moving and going. When I had to take it into a Zoom call and work with like breakup groups and do exercises left, right and centre, I was really nervous, but I think I managed to make it work. It was hard work though. The things I did enjoy was I could actually go into the group and talk to the 5 people in that one and keep going in and out. Yeah. And sometimes I'm like Basil Fawlty when I'm actually at a school, because I'm running around there. Hello, are you all right? And then I get talking to one group for too long, and I miss a lot. So yeah, I found it helpful in that way.
Yeah, for me it was like because it's like the lecturer will ask a question, say there's like 30 people in this lecture, and I'm obviously quite enthusiastic about it, so if I've got a good answer I want to tell it. And it's always like, it seems like 98% every time are like, nah. I'm sure some people just attend the lecture, mute it, and then sit playing GTA or something. And it's like every time, like when they ask a question, I'm like, okay, I'll go again. Hello, me again. There's always a few of us in each lecture, but then sort of people clock onto it, so then people stop answering even more so, because they're like, oh,
he can do it.
Yeah, that weird old guy will answer it again.
I'll be the same, man. I really enjoy it. If I'm going to be into something, may as well immerse yourself absolute. Do you know what I mean? Dive in the ocean.
And that's what I mean about starting this degree, is it's not a career move by any means. It's just I'm doing it. I'm not doing it so that I'm more employable. I'm just doing it because I enjoy history. I want to be a better historian.
Yeah, I really admire that. I listened to an Alan Watts recently. Do you know Alan Watts at all?
I know the name.
He's used in a lot of lo-fi tracks now. Do you know his little snippets and Foley?
Yeah.
And he just gives an affirmation or a bit of quote.
Yeah.
But he does do a really good lecture and talk in a philosophy class, and he just breaks down basically what do you really love doing? What genuinely, if money was not an object, what would you be doing with your life? And he gets the students to sort of break it down, and have to really, really layer it. And then he goes, do that. That's your purpose. And I think a lot of people will benefit from this talk that I listen to. But it's probably what I really do enjoy about you. You just go fully whole hog into what you want. You know who you are, you know what you're about, and you're just like, that's me now. That's what I'm doing. Yeah. And it's enjoyable to see. So, I mean, can we talk a bit of history then? Like, I'm not massively knowledgeable. I just find it interesting, because that was the subject at school that I really struggled with, and I think it was the teacher though, because I remember I didn't really care about religion at school, but the teacher was just so friendly, so kind, so compassionate, so interested and excited about his job. I learned, I really did, and it mattered to me who was in front of me. The history teacher was that monotone but also ex-military, just authoritarian bureaucrat. This is how it is.
It sounds like quite a stereotypical history teacher as you'd picture
but
one.
I know there's so many amazing ones that exist that can take you on a journey, and it should, because history is why we're here. History is how we've evolved. History is absolutely fascinating, and now I've watched Vikings, I can get on board it. I'm like, okay, because it was great. Me and Chrissy, when lockdown started, we got into Vikings, and it's fairly accurate, isn't it? They do use a lot of the same places, the same regions, the same time eras, obviously, but
it's based on sort of real names, real places, real battles, that sort of thing,
which I did enjoy.
But it's like, even across, when somebody says I'm not into history, I think really, because there's just it's such a varied subject. It's like,
go and get your DNA done and genetics and stuff,
But it's like, even, say, Game of Thrones, for example, you can watch that and it's just full of history. It's based on real battles, as I say, real. Obviously, all the names and people have changed, that sort of thing. But it's
glamorized and
it could quite be. Minus the dragons and all that sort of stuff.
Hang on a minute.
The real world.
Oh, that's what we were going to get onto next. So when there was dragons, what era was that, and how was it doing that? I've heard an interesting podcast recently, and it was a guy. Again, I think he was quite a philosopher. Have you heard of Philosophize Me?
I don't think so.
It's a cool podcast. They just talk concepts all the time, but he was talking about history, and he broke it down as his story. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, I think so.
His story.
I think we spoke about that. I think we touched on that last time.
Oh, wicked. Well, that was one of the podcasts I listened to. What's your take on that? Because I remember sitting in a history class and just thinking, but how do we... I know we've documented through time, but how accurate do we know it to be? How to the truth do we know it to be? How much is speculation? How much is theory? How much is conjecture? Do you know what I mean? I'm interested in that.
I kind of feel like that's the beauty of it. I feel like, because we know what we know, or what we think we know, and our imagination can run wild with the rest. So it's like, my favourite thing growing up was Robin Hood, being from this area. I was a massive Robin Hood fanatic, and it was like, that was sort of, with it being a legend, there are facts in there and there are truths in there, but it's been retold over so many hundreds of years that it's almost like a fairy tale, isn't it? But based on real characters, and that's what I like.
Was he a real character?
Well, Robin Hood was a term for it was like a collective term for a criminal at the time. So a Robin Hood was a criminal, is what they used to call it.
And were there good Robin Hoods then?
Well, there is. I've read a few books about it where there are reports. It was quite a while ago, so I can't remember sort of dates and names off the top of my head, but it's like there'll be real characters within this area and all over the country even that have done things like stealing and giving back to the community and that sort of thing. And, like local heroes that have all been sort of collected into this one legend that became Robin Hood, the man.
I listened to something the other day saying hero means the power of two, or something like that, so it's doing the extra work for the other. And that when you said local heroes, it sounded very Robin Hood-esque. I need to go back and listen to that podcast. This is what I do with my life. I just do the parts, do my day, potter about, put a stage down and that, and just intermittently clock in and out of really interesting bits. But I never listen to a full podcast and I'm gonna learn now. It's just I'm gonna have it on because I need a mate there, because it gets lonely out here out in the sticks. But genuinely, I just have it on. I keep clocking in and out, and when I listen to people, it's like, your sort of neurons are just sort of connecting, but there's a bit of knowledge there, but it's like zzz, put it together. But that fascinated me. Do you have a favourite moment of history then?
Well, like I say, Robin Hood was the thing that got me.
Was
that
it.
Legend that was the spark,
right?
But I think through that, I really like working class history. Which I think also maybe comes from the whole Robin Hood thing, because he was a working class hero, and he's sort of. I like things like the Russian Revolution and that sort of thing, and political stuff, but from a working class perspective.
Why the political sphere?
I just find it interesting. Like I say, like the whole thing around the power of the working class and the working man is what I'm quite interested in. I like a lot of stuff. Native Americans I love, and the Vikings and that sort of thing as well.
Well, with class systems, again, I'm just going to throw ideas out here. You let me know where we're at. But with class system, do you know why that developed in such a way?
Yeah, in sort of general terms.
Monarchy a big part of it?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, well, it's the top down.
I'm not anti anything, really. I'll just take it all on board. I do think our history is very important to know, learn from, adapt from.
Yeah.
But again, it's a limited range. When you throw out the Viking thing at me or something else, I'll have some knowledge there that I can play with. But I would be fascinated to go down this, because as you get older and you mature more, you get to an ego stage in your life, don't you, where you're like, I know it all now, I know it all. But then when you have a big ego check or an ego death, you go, oh, I just want to keep learning now. There's no information too much, too broad.
Yeah.
I want to know it all. So that's the thing with history. There's so much there. There's so much possibility. There's so much speculation that you can get beautifully lost in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, again, back to what you were saying about your teacher, is one thing that was a big part of it for me was that one of my history teachers when I was in sixth form was the sort of person that, like I say, you were just captivated, and they were so passionate and enthusiastic. And we had like a group of about 6 or 7 of us. So it was a really small group, certainly for a history course at that time. So and everybody knew each other really well. Everybody was tight. Everybody got on really well. So it was like the sort of lesson that I looked forward to all week. Yeah. And it's, again, maybe something that sort of sparked my interest.
Can you remember what attributes and traits she was showing then, other than just passion? Was it, could she read a story really well in that? Yeah,
and just being like you said, really friendly. And we'd end up, because we used to have a bit of a running joke, is that if we can't really be asked to do a bit of work today, we'll ask her about something, or like, you know what I mean? Because she was really passionate about history, and then she'd tell us all about it, and next minute, it's half an hour later and we've not had to write anything down, or just having that really interesting conversation with somebody who knows what they're talking about anything really.
Exploration.
Yeah.
The guy that I mentioned earlier, Martin, I love one of his lessons that he told me about, and what he'd do, they're going to learn about, say, World War II. And I think this is a really genius way of teaching kids, because instead of him sat there with a book and just reading it all and saying, this is what happened, this is that, he sat there as one of the students, in essence, and goes, right, we're doing World War II. What do we want to know about it? And then, say there's 10 people in that class, they're all going to go away and become an expert in a part of that. Yeah. So it'd go, right, what do you want to know? And they go, I heard about trench foot, sir. What was that? I don't know. Go and find out. And they go and do their own research, and they could go on a computer, or they could find a book, or however they wanted to research it, they go away and do that. Yeah. And they were turning the learning into their own, not being dictated and directed how to learn. So it'd get that as a collective, all of them going and finding their interest, what food they ate, how they survived for so many years without their loved ones around them, and so on. Then they'd all come back in a group, and because they've all been on their own mission and found their own research, you're more willing to listen to one another as well. Yeah. Because you're like, oh, I've got mine coming up soon, so I'll listen to what they've got to say, find a fascination in it, and they'll mutually give me that respect.
Yeah, and you end up teaching each other.
Exactly.
Funnily enough, that exact teacher that I'm on about, I remember us doing an exercise. It was part of the civil rights movement, which is probably my favourite, in fact, of all history. That's a period that absolutely fascinates me. It always has done, ever since then. And it was like, we did the same sort of thing. I remember I did the March on Washington with Martin Luther King and the famous I Have a Dream speech. And it was, we all sort of covered a different subject that may come up in the exam. And then we all taught it to each other like the following week. And it's, that again, as you say, was a really interesting way to learn from one of my mates who's telling me about it, or having a conversation like we are now.
Powerful and passion infused. Yeah. And you don't feel ever the idiot of the group. Like, I was made to feel that a lot, because I was just I was dyslexic at school. I remember this was a history lesson, and our learning for that day was he read it out and we had to write as he read. Imagine what that did to me. Yeah. And there was a bit where do you know when you go into hysterics and you're laughing just stupidly? I got sent out for it because I just stopped for a minute and I was like, I know what I wrote then wasn't what he's just said. So I looked back at it, and it was the most gobbledygook nonsense you've ever seen on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And I was just hysterically laughing at myself, like, I'm an idiot. I couldn't believe it. And I got sent out for that. But there are just some really good ways of reaching people. And if you can turn them into the expert, them into the teacher, you retain it a lot stronger, I believe.
Yeah, I had a similar sort of experience with that style of teaching in school, where they're just talking at you, or they put a slideshow up and you're just writing out the information. And
crazy.
I'd find that I could sit there, and at the end of the lesson I'd have 2 pages full of information. If I close that book and you ask me one question about it,
yeah,
I don't know. It's there in my book, but I could have just saved the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
But reading it and writing it, to me, wasn't going in. It was just, I was just regurgitating it.
I could do cramming. Have you heard of like the cramming way of learning?
Is that like a last minute?
Yeah.
So
I eventually got asked to not come to school for like the last period, but they let me do the exams. So I just stayed at home and had all the books, and the books had the questions at the start and then the answers at the back. And before the maths exam for that week, I would just literally write exactly that page in front of me and write the answer down. I did no sort of investigative learning. I just wrote down everything word for word, but I memorised it through that, and I managed to do average in some of the exams because of that process. But I don't know any of it now, so it's completely worthless. But it's just crazy that I got grades that could have been deemed as okay, but having absolutely no point. Do you know what I mean? And that makes me feel weird towards the system, weird towards how we value people, because the numbers next to my name, no, the letters, isn't it? It's A, B, C, D. The letters next to my name would have given people an indication about me. But if they know my process and what I know now, they'd be like, well, yeah, but what was the point of all that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one reason why I'm enjoying the degree side of it now, is that, say, we've got so long to answer it, several weeks even, with a question. So all the information's right there. We can Google it, the dates and things like that. We don't need to memorise them as such. It's more what you're arguing and how you put it across and how you write. So you are actually being graded qualitatively as opposed to...
Showing you your own person.
Yeah.
Go on. What would a typical question be? What's one of your recents?
I've just done one on comparative history, which is quite a niche area, where you take 2 random events in history, or maybe slightly related, and you compare them against each other while answering a question.
While we were talking, I was wanting to do that. I didn't know how to bring the question up, but that you were talking about class system, and I was thinking of Vikings, and I was like, have there always been class systems? Have there been breakdowns of hierarchy throughout our history, ways of, structuring ourselves? Does that just exist across the globe, across all parts of history? Is there a lot of commonality within it all?
I think so, absolutely, yeah. The Vikings were based on... It was sort of the same thing, but on a smaller, more varied scale. So they were ruled by many different kings in different areas. So it's basically the same thing as what came much later, say, in this country, with one monarch that rules England, would be the same, but across Norway or across Sweden.
Right,
you know
okay.
What I mean? So we were doing so the question I've just answered was comparative history, looking at the theme the one that I answered, the theme was conflict in society, and I was comparing the student rights movement in Northern Ireland and the civil rights movement in the USA, which I was talking about earlier, sort of in the 60s, so similar sort of time period. And you're basically looking at how... So one similarity that I was talking about is the different organisations that took part were heavily driven by students, for example, or the how they came about causing conflict within society to bring about change, like the direct action, which is like, say, the Martin Luther King and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, where they would stage a march, for example. They call it civil disobedience because officially the authorities were trying to stop this happening, but they weren't doing anything wrong. They were just marching.
Yeah.
And even now, obviously, with George Floyd and everything that happened last year in the Black Lives Matter movement, you can see that still works even today.
Right, okay. Wow, that is fascinating. And with the interest in history, does it give thirst and interest to future? Sort of, we're creating history now, in essence.
Yeah, definitely.
What I just said then. But it's all going to be a part of history. So how we're operating and acting now, do you see this becoming a completely unforeseeable, unimaginable future of what we're going into?
How do you mean? Sorry,
well, in terms of, technological advances now, this is so superior to anything that's ever been in history. I suppose, when you're comparing sides of history and eras and ages and so on, it's potentially been very similar because, we've had primatal instincts, we've had our evolution of being, and it's been a fairly slow process. One of the parts of history that really fascinates me, the stone ape theory. Do you know how our brain development doubled in size in a very quick time?
I don't know much about that.
But yeah, there's a lot of theory behind it. Some of it comes down to potentially when we were primates foraging and discovering psychedelics and so on in the ground and the grass and so on. Another element of it could have been the discovery of fire. So because we learned how to build fire and kill things, and we could actually kill animals and eat them, our brain development doubled, and it's never done that in any other species. It's stayed at a very similar size. In us, it doubled over a very, very quick period of time. It's the stone ape theory, and that fascinates me. But after that part of evolution, there's also aliens involved in that potential. No, it's an interesting part of history. But after that, we've evolved very naturally, in a constant, there's been then religion and gods, and we've had them systems built and structures built, and then power, and then destroyed, and we lived in a certain way throughout the globe. But now it just feels so different to what I understood in history. Do you know what I mean? With the technology that we have, the fast pace, the fast race, the constant.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Do you feel we're at a pivotal time in history?
Yeah, definitely. It sort of feels like, because it's hard to say, because sort of when you're looking at something in history, you're on the outside looking in, and we don't know how they would say conditioned within that society to perceive that as their normal, if you know what I mean. It's a hard one to answer really, because this is sort of all we've ever known.
It's just wild. What I'm alluding to or thinking of is Wi-Fi. I mean, what is that?
Yeah.
Some cloud in the sky. Like my laptop here, the information it can process and hold within a small chip that they've made out of, I think, sand. And so how they constructed all this through time, it's just absolutely baffling to me. And that's what I just feel towards all the elements of history and the wars and the fights and the things we've been on and building them structures. The moment we've gone, here's light, here's TV, here's this, here's that, I know a lot of people go, oh, that's a bad thing, it's anaesthetized us, it's just sat us stationary and we've become this. But how flipping amazing is human technology and evolution and mode, like AI.
Yeah.
What are we going into? Do you know what I mean? I'm so fascinated about it. Have you seen that recent one, Elon Musk, the Neuralink that is put into a chimp?
I don't think so.
Dude, a chimp can play, do you know the old retro game Pong?
Oh, yeah.
There's a video of the chimp playing it through his mind.
Really?
His neurons are linked in a certain way, and he can manifest where this, what is it, like a bar goes up and down, isn't it? He makes decisions on where it goes and hits this. Dude, it's incredible. And that's probably why my thirst towards learning more about our histories come from now. This confusion about where we're going, I've just gone, where the hell have we come from?
Yeah, and it's so accessible as well. It's the thing that say I can sit in my bedroom and write an essay without touching a book. Or like, you know what I mean? You can find out the exact information that you need for your argument, for example, or just anything right there in your phone.
And you've got a bit of Viking in you, haven't you?
I like to think so.
Yeah. Is that factual or?
Well, I did one of those DNA tests and we come back like it. I think it was
Scandinavian.
6.5% Scandinavian. Yeah, so blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah, very piercing. You do look a bit Ragnar-esque.
Okay,
have you been told that before? I'd definitely take. Not in his crackhead period either. Do you know where it went all dodgy?
You were in season 1 when he's young,
in his prime, man, growing. I love Ragnar. Mm-hmm. What a cool character that is.
Yeah, I think my favourite thing about Ragnar and about Vikings this season as a whole was the way they approached the subject of religion. Because it was like, because I've always found religion fascinating, but I'm not religious, I'm an atheist, but I do find how religion has been used over time to say control the masses, and I find it all so interesting. And the way that sort of Ragnar goes on this journey for the first like 4 seasons, where he's contemplating if everything he's always thought was the truth about, say, his Scandinavian gods.
There's some really beautiful moments in that series, isn't there?
There's one when me and Lewis often talk about this one, is when King Egbert and Ragnar are talking shortly before. Can I give spoilers?
Yeah, because big spoiler alert here. Big spoiler alert. I mean, it is known of history. If you don't know it by now, you're an idiot, mate.
and they they're just getting pissed in his castle thing, and they're talking about religion and their gods, and they're discussing it.
Episode.
It's just like sort of, it's as if they're doing a podcast where they just sat having a really interesting conversation, just interlocked with each other.
Because they're sort of flippantly laughing at each other, like, why would your God be like this? Why would he do that? And then at the end, there's a really beautiful moment where they sit there and they're just still and they're reflecting on it.
Yeah.
And there must have been so many times of that in history when cultures collided and come together. And, all their life they've been indoctrinated through self, through family, through history, a one-way belief of being. And when two come together and coexist, there must have been so many minds opening and thinking other, and obviously conflicting about it. But, yeah, what an interesting premise.
Yeah, to see that, the breakdown of everything they thought they knew by just conversing with somebody else that was born in a different place, as simple as that.
I listened to someone on a documentary recently talk about, she was Mormon for a long, long time. And again, she just had a moment inside where she had an epiphany, got outside of the Mormon religion. But the way she explained herself, even though she doesn't believe in hell anymore, and she's had to completely realign her vision, completely realign the way she processes the world and the workings, she still has this terror of going to hell, even though she doesn't think it exists.
Yeah.
Because of all the deep indoctrination that she's endured and been through. And it must be such a conundrum.
I don't know if you've heard how Ricky Gervais speaks about this sort of thing, but he's got a lot of really interesting points.
Bits and bobs.
And he talks about the danger of teaching children that everything they're doing is being watched and you're being judged on everything, even your thoughts. And I kind of can relate to that in a way, because we weren't a Christian household as such by any means, but we used to cover a lot of Bible pieces and things in school, in primary school. And it's like, I think that sort of stays with you a bit. I sort of, the whole thing of karma as such, or, if I'm doing something that other people might find is a bad thing when I'm on my own and nobody's watching. That sounded really creepy, didn't it?
What could that
be? Then I still sort of feel as though there's that lurking in the back of my mind that I'm being judged. Even, you know what I mean?
Oh, completely.
It's quite a dangerous thing to teach people, I think.
One of my favourite ones it was Ricky Gervais, Richard Dawkins, but also I think it had Russell Brand and somebody else who was quite spiritual minded. And the way they connected, it's a podcast, I'd definitely go and check it out, or more of a sort of documentary. It was filmed. I don't know if it's out on like Spotify or anything. I watched it on YouTube. But Richard Dawkins and Ricky was very rigid in this very atheistic, scientific belief and understanding of how the world operates. And I do have that inside. I enjoy science. I love the fact of all the discoveries we've managed to communicate and develop and build on. I wouldn't be here without science. My sister, she had a blood clot last year. She wouldn't be here without science. but it is on a very limited perspective. It's our human understanding and perspective, and we've got to respect our senses are very limited.
Yeah.
You know, we've got 5 and you can smell and touch and feel, but there are animals with much more vivid, wide spectrum senses and realms. And I like the way that Russell Brand and the other guests was talking about it, because they're a bit more like you like about history. They love the mystery of the possibility of this realm, this life that we're living in.
It's that human need to like put things into categories and to simplify everything so that we can understand it. I'm reading a book at the minute, which is the premise of the whole book is about how race is a social construct, and it's about how that's, say, a good example, because it's like people have decided that there are this many races, and then, for example, black and white. And I was reading about how Africa is more varied in terms of genes than just within Africa than any other continent on Earth. And yet you'll just say black to refer to millions of people from 50 different countries.
I struggle with when people of nowadays speak in very generalized terms and put labels on things. I just feel there's such a beautiful nuance within all spectrums of life that to just try and simplify it into one bracket doesn't make any sense. We do it in politics, we do it in race, how you just said then, we do it in science, and we completely try and I think there's that ego drive to know everything and be right about everything. And I mean, I ended up going very depressed after a breakup and so on. I went on a bit of a wild mission. I fell to psychosis, schizophrenia and all these things. But within that, again, the bittersweetness, it made me, with some help of plant-based things, it did make me see another experience, another way of the world, and just have it. And you don't need to go through that. You can go through yoga, you can go through meditation, you can go through another form of accessing it. But when you do access that other, you go, oh my God, there's a certain knowledge that we've got, but there's this realm that is undescribable that we may never be able to articulate. Our limited vocabulary won't be able to describe it, but it does exist. It's there. I've experienced it to its core. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I like, how you spoke about history, and that's what I like about universe and how we see things. That's what I like about podcasts. You can just explore them all and get on the Bandcamp for it. But going into the history, what part of history were you doing with Ferocious Dog? Because that new video that's out, you've just shown me before this. It's bloody fantastic. Really, really good. Another level of goodness. Who was the filmmaker?
Justin Griffiths.
He needs a shout out, because Justin Griffiths, if you ever want to collab, mate, you're the man. I love you. That was special.
He's a good guy.
So what was that moment?
We have sort of this thing with Ferocious Dog. I think a few of us have quite a keen interest in history, and one thing that certainly Ken's done when writing lyrics for a few different songs is sort of take a random part in history that interests him and then write a song about it, which I find quite an interesting perspective. Certainly if you're writing so many songs and you're struggling a bit for subject knowledge, not that it's cheating, but you know what I mean? It's like being a historian myself, I find it quite an interesting approach. So this latest single, it's called Pentrich Rising, came out last Wednesday, and it was the last English armed rebellion. It was in 1817, and it was staged in Pentrich, which is right near here, isn't it? Not far.
The Pentrich Revolution. I've heard of it.
And it was, and they were basically, they were made to think they were taking part in a nationwide insurrection, so that this was happening all over the country. And these rebels, one of whom is from Sutton in Ashfield, one of the leading guys. So I'm from Kirkby in Ashfield, so it's so local as well, which is another part that I find really interesting.
I bet that buzzes you, doesn't it? Gives you that adrenaline.
And it's so basically they were betrayed anyway, and the rebels were arrested when they were marching to Nottingham.
How were they betrayed? And
there was a spy within the ranks who was reporting it to the
There's always
to the
one
government,
tosser, isn't there?
Yeah, to the military. So they were arrested. A lot of them were sent to exile in Australia, as they used to do at the time. And the 3 ringleaders were executed. But before they were executed, they were held at Derby Jail. And so that's actually the place where we filmed the music video. And then upon the release last Wednesday, we played like a private release show to like about 50 of our really close circle and the guys that have been there from day one. And we did like a private show at Derby Jail on the actual land where the rebels that we're talking about were executed, which is quite an interesting.
Mate, I'm just smiling for you because to combine the history side of things and the love for music together and merge it in one, you must have been the happiest man alive in that moment.
I love that sort
We're
of
doing
thing.
what? We're going where? Derby Prison?
Yeah, in fact, we got to work with Richard Felix, who's the historian on Most Haunted, or he was for a long while. So when we originally went there to film the video, he greeted us at the door and he took us in, and he was the same sort of thing. He was so enthusiastic and he just couldn't wait to tell us about this place. And they were showing us, and Jeff, the guy that works there, they were showing us the because it's like a bit of a museum now as well, and they do like ghost walks and that sort of thing. And,
wicked.
And they were showing us the cell doors where people have carved their names in, and you can then check these names on the records, and you can see what they were hung for or what they were executed for, and when they were held there, and yet you can touch the very scrapings that they did the night before they were executed in the cell doors.
I got goosebumps you saying that then. Yeah, completely.
Yeah, it was such an interesting process doing the video and obviously then going back to play it there as well.
Are all of the Ferocious Dog members into the history? Were they all getting a buzz off of it, or?
I think so. Within certainly to quite a level. Yeah, it was. You can't not do when you're there as well. It's certainly Derby Jail was such a there's a presence about it.
Quite an airy place.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can feel it when you go in. A lot of people say that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it.
Do you know the Derby Mile?
Yeah. I know what.
The Derby Mile, where all the pubs are. Yeah.
What do you do? Have a half pint at each pub when the Derby Mile's on, don't you?
Yeah, I think
supposed to.
And then it's like it's on that strip because one of the guys, one of the historians who were there, was telling me that that's where the saying "I'm on the wagon" comes from, because it was when you used to be hung, so you'd stand on the back of the wagon and then the horse would walk and you'd obviously drop before the actual gallows. And so what they used to do is somebody was going to be executed, they'd take him down the Derby Mile and they'd have a pint or half a pint in each pub, and in the last pub they'd say, "Sorry, I can't, I'm on the wagon," and that meant I'm on the wagon ready to be hung.
Wow.
So they're about to be executed. Yeah, because apparently they used to sort of encourage him to have a few pints beforehand because they were a lot easier to handle.
Really?
They're sort of more relaxed when they're about to be executed.
Well, they say that, don't you? Do you know when people are drunk and they're falling downstairs, they actually don't end up that injured because your body's flimsy and it wasn't expecting it, so it sort of like jellos into it, rather than when you're rigid and sober, you fall into it and you're trying to sort of tense and brace to go against it. So that makes total sense.
A good example is that of when I was in Newcastle the other night. I got quite a nasty fall after a few pints, and at the time I sort of laughed it off, and ever since now my ribs killing me. I had no idea at the time.
That's a terrible example, because if you were really drunk enough, you should have mellowed into it and turned into jello. You wouldn't be feeling this now. You were just one pint behind.
Fair enough. I must try harder next time.
What was the filming of it all like?
It was great because we filmed the first half of the day was at Derby Jail, doing the jail scenes and that sort of thing, and then we went over in the evening to a friend of ours. He's got like a farm. He works a farm in Ollerton Way, I think, and we got say about 30 people down of like really close followers of the band and that sort of thing. We spoke to a lot of our friends who came down to play like extras, and we did like the marching scene when we lit like the medieval style torches, and we're walking, and as they sort of joined us behind, we had to wait till nightfall. It was freezing as well. Everybody's still doing the coats and we're all dressed up and everything.
Did you have a bit of a surreal moment doing that? Because
it was cool, yeah.
That's a genuine scene, isn't it, from history? I can imagine that happening. People at night, we wouldn't have had lights in the day, they'd be having the pitchforks and the lanterns and so on, and when you're just in that formation, everyone's going, did you have that like kind of trippy moment where you're looking around like, Wow.
Yeah, that was cool. And then besides when people were joining us from the side, you could hear all lighters going in the trees trying to light the things. But, yeah, it was cool.
Shit.
We put a bit of stuff in it so it like sparked as well. So, because I was walking and we obviously everybody's trying to look forward, remain serious, and I could just feel like, I think Dan was walking behind me, I could just feel like the heat of his flames there, and I was like, keep that torch away, mate.
Yeah. I've got a lot of gel on, some spray.
And because we only had so many torches, we're like, right, we've got one shot at this. So, and I find it so odd not to laugh when I'm doing things like that.
Yeah.
Even we were doing some videos before the gig last Wednesday about, just doing the, stream our new album, it's available on this now, and that sort of thing to use later on. And I was just ridiculous. All the way through it, just going... Even when there's nothing funny, it's just that
was with
that intense moment.
Ferocious Dog. Oh mate, are they all similar as well? Do you try and crack each other up?
Oh yeah, definitely. Some worse than others.
I think I might have said this to you before, but the way you talk, it gives me a bit of jealousy, but mainly envious of it all, because it's happy for you. I think while we were talking, I was thinking, maybe I'm going to do a series of Mikey tries this or Mikey tries that, and I want to try one where I'm in a band for the first time.
That'd be cool.
Just feeling the vibe of what it's all about, because hearing you going on tour, being with your mates, the way you talk about gigs, the way you just absolutely love it. I can feel it so strongly in you, and I kind of just want one experience where I've been on a stage with all my mates, we've had the best show ever, there's people that we're giving a great vibe to, and you've left it, and you're getting that on the grandest scales, thousands and thousands at a time, and I just can't imagine it. But yeah, that I love it, man. I love it.
I like to think of it like, say, the social side of it as being it's almost as if I always imagine that, so when you were younger and you used to go out with your mates, I'll come and call for you, and you'd go out and you'd spend 7 hours doing nothing, just chatting, and then you get up and walk somewhere else, or you go to the shop, and then you sit down and chat, play a bit of football. It's sort of like, I feel like playing in a band is an excuse to do that as an adult, while being taken semi-seriously.
Such a great way of putting it. I love that.
There's so much waiting around, but that's why you have to be in a band where people get on and where where you can have a laugh together, because it's like, yes, there's a gig to play later on, but you'll get to, say you travel to the venue, God knows how many hours, you'll set up, you'll do the sound check, you've got several hours again to wait until the doors open, then the support bands are on, then you'll play, and then you're together again all night, and then you're usually drinking most of the night, and then you'd sleep, and then the same again tomorrow, and the same again the day after. So you spend so long where you've just got hours on end to sit with each other.
Are you very, very similar people?
Ferocious Dog's quite an interesting dynamic, actually, because we are different ages, and we from different places, different backgrounds. We're not really similar people, but we have a common interest in music, and we have that passion, and we're all. One thing that I found quite surprising joining a bigger band was that everybody's just as daft as what they were when I was in a smaller band. You think I don't know what I expected, but everybody just be sort of serious, and you know what I mean, stop laughing and mucking about. That's far from the case.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes me happy to hear as well. I didn't want to know behind the curtains. It's all very regimented.
No, far from it.
And looking at you and knowing you, man, I'm like, yeah, it can't be the case. You wouldn't be existing in that for long enough. You would have been kicked out time ago.
It is. It's like there's just the right amount of seriousness. We take the music very seriously, because we love doing it and we want to do it.
But we have to be the best it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would be impossible to spend so long together.
Have you had people come and go in the bands, different members?
Yeah, we have quite a lot of lineup changes with Ferocious Dog, various different reasons, but I was the first drummer to be on more than one album, and this is my third that we've just recorded.
Wow, they're just like, we've got Alex now, that's what he does.
He's here to stay. Yeah, we've had a few since I joined the band, but yeah, it's like we're all quite social people, so it's somebody. We've just had a new guy in, Sam, and he's like, he did one practice and then gigged with us, and it was like
straight into it.
Yeah, straight in. It was the same with me. I did one and a half practices. We did sort of a day, and then about a 3-hour session in an evening. We went straight to Holland to play 4 gigs. So it was like thrown in at the deep end. And
I've not been to see you guys perform. I think I've missed it. When you've been at festivals, I've been somewhere daft else, I don't know. But I really, the niche you built up and the audience and the fans that you've got, are so committed to you guys, absolutely adore everything about it. And I suppose a huge part of that, beside the music, is because of the authenticity and the connection that you've all got together. And you can tell that in a band. Do you know what I mean? When you see a band on stage that all love one another, respect the hell out of one another, have banter and all that, it comes so strongly across, and it comes out in the music. Because when you've got one band to go on, or it's session musicians or so on, and there's a couple of egos in there or not quite clicking, I've noticed that on stages as well. I think it comes out quite sharply.
Yeah, I think it's that thing of that if you're enjoying it on stage, then that's gonna resonate with the audience as well.
Yeah,
like that's like, it's just so, that's my element. I like to think when I'm playing on stage and I'm in the zone, it's just like the greatest feeling that I can possibly achieve. And
you're all in your own little elements, and that's what makes one big whole.
And we have sort of, it's because we've played so many shows together, we have sort of, there are little points when in certain songs when we'll say me and our bassist John will look at each other and we're both thinking the same thing, or there are so many little inside jokes that go on even during the set on stage that we're looking and laughing at each other, or you know what I mean, or if somebody messed up a part of a song the night before, when we play that song the night, we're all staring at them on purpose, like giving in the face, and little things like that, where there's the banter going on stage, but because we spend so long together, it's even just that look.
I love that. I mean, actually, I have got an example of it with you, because Concrete Rose, a similar dynamic. You all love each other. You can tell it. You're fun. You're friends. Yeah. It's got the serious elements, but there's so much love there.
Yeah.
And I've worked with you as a filmmaker, and it's always come out in the films we've done. I look back at them, and I'm really proud of them, man. All of them, they're jokes. But the one on here, and there's a bit where you're playing drums, and I think Lewis gives you a kiss, and you look dead proper happy. He did it. And that's so. There's another band I've worked with, and I won't say the band name, but they're not a band anymore. And they're good friends of mine that I've known, but they weren't necessarily friends with each other before the music or during the music, and we got there to shoot, and it was just an intense, we need to do this, and the film never came out in the end, because they weren't happy with the product, but we couldn't get a good product out of it because they couldn't agree on things. They didn't, we're not standing there because this, and I was in the middle of like a field at one stage, and they were just shouting at each other like, what's the fucking point? Why are we doing this? And I'm not saying I was the catalyst of that band not being of existence anymore, but I was definitely a momentary part of its decline. But that's what I was alluding to, and trying to explain, is being around bands that haven't got that soul connection, that full support, love and understanding. It really showed in the film footage, it showed in everything else. And every time working with you, every film has just been, I could have picked any scene, I could have picked any shot, and it would have worked, because it's bubbly, it's fun. Definitely. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we like that. Certainly with Concrete Rose, we like that all the time, no matter what we're doing. I look forward to practicing, because we just laugh all the way through it. It's like we're just being daft, and them lot will tell you when, like, me and Lewis get together, or we've just had Wilf, Wilf, don't
Wilf, you? He's been in touch recently. He wants to put on a gig on the farm and stuff, and I'm really, whatever, because we were so close to having that as a gig. What's his other band called?
Wilf and the Hullabaloo.
Yeah, we had the Bumbling Bees, a few other bands come in. We put this festival and literally just got shut down just at that moment. But yeah, he's looking at doing some other stuff.
Cool.
Lovely lad, isn't he?
Yeah, he was like, he just joined the band, and that me and Lewis have both said within the last couple of weeks, like, because I think he did his first practice with us maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. I can't remember Concrete Rose without Wilf now. He just sort of joined in, and he fits so perfectly into that dynamic socially as well as musically, that, like, he's just such a laugh. Did you get in touch with him, or he got in touch with you? Well, Lewis wanted to play. He decided he just wanted to be exclusively singing.
Oh, really? No guitar?
Instead of playing rhythm guitar as well. So we're looking for a rhythm guitarist. So he put a few feelers out, and then Wilf ended up getting in touch. And
brilliant.
The minute he joined the band, he was really buzzing about being in the band. We were really buzzing about him
He's a fan, isn't he?
He seems to be really.
I mean, but that's when you hear somebody going into it, like you did with Ferocious Dog, when you've gone into it as a fan and you're playing, it means you're going to put in everything.
Yeah,
you want to be there more than anything.
Yeah. And
other people could potentially take that space, so you've got to play for that position. So I can equate it to football. Week in, week out, we were always, when I was at my best team, the team that is sort of, you had to seal your position, it was exciting, it was enjoyable to play for that position. You had to really make sure you put in, week out, and if you didn't, the coach would let you know straight up. And I suppose that's how he's operating with that.
I get that. It's that feeling of like this is where I belong. This is my space.
And it's a balancer. It's not going to bring anxiety across, because that's when it becomes you struggle. Do you know what I mean? You play no, that's not right. Oh shit! Oh, don't do that again. Oh, I've done it again. It falls through that. But if you can do it with a balance and with I'm proud of this position. I want to be here. I'm going to give it my all. That comes out.
So I read something yesterday or the day before that it was a quote by a Brazilian drummer, and it was something along the lines of, if you feel that you're well prepared and you've got the passion, then no one can stop you. And that's what, because I love to prepare. I practice a lot, and it's even, say, the Ferocious Dog set that I've played over 200 times live. It's like I'll still have a blast through it before our next gig, or we'll play it together in a practice, and it's like that's what makes me feel confident, is that I know I've prepared for it. I've got the passion, and then when I'm up there, I'm not thinking, what comes next, because I'm just in the zone. I'm not thinking about what I'm playing. I
feel most people's anxieties come from not being prepared enough, and they're maybe not conscious of that. But I did a lot of public speaking and talks, and I remember the ones where I was going on stage and started to get the sweats and dry mouth and all that, was solely because I just let it come up. Do you know what I mean? I had it in the diary. I knew where it was. I got really busy in life, and then I'm looking at my calendar, and it's like, it's tomorrow. Okay, do a couple of poems. What do I say? And I really did panic. And the moments where I'd had a bit more relaxing time in my life, I got to schedule, see when an event was coming, and give it a week prep. I never got nerves, ever. It was just a confidence on that stage where I suppose there was apprehension and some nerves existing there, but it wasn't of, oh my god, this could go wrong. It was of, let's go do it.
One thing I really liked was we were doing an interview somewhere with Ferocious Dog recently, and one of the guys said, they asked, do you get nervous before you go on stage? And he was like, do you get nervous when you make a cup of tea? He was like, no, I play it every day. Why would I do it all the time? Why would I get nervous? And it's like, that's how I feel going on stage. The only time when it sort of gets me is if I'm hungover, because if I'm hungover, I'm like, I'll get in my own head, and I'll be really like self-aware, and I'm, if you're on stage and you get into that zone where I'm thinking about what I'm playing,
hyper aware,
that's when I'm in danger of making a mistake, because I'm thinking everything, what's next, whereas it's when you're just feeling it and you get on stage and I'm not thinking about what I'm playing, I'm just doing it out of muscle memory, and I'm just having a good time.
I genuinely, I think that's an incredible metaphor for life. I really do. The way you play the drums in that moment, I do it in podcasts when I'm thinking of the next thing I'm going to say, or the next thing, or was that right before, get inside my head, it's when it goes clunky. But the moment you start connecting and just going on that vibration and just smoothing with it, it comes out how it should.
And it's just natural.
100%. I think good metaphor, son. You could be a life coach out there.
You can keep that one if you like.
There was a good somebody I worked with said, when you get nervous, I love this quote, it was, nerves are the respect that you pay the audience. And
I've never heard that.
That was beautiful, because I did think about that, and I suppose it did go beyond me. I wanted them to have a good time, and the emphasis is on me to put that good time forward. And if I'm off, they're off. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, let that channel it. You're doing this for them. Put it on their plate. One thing that nerves are the respect you pay the audience.
I like that. I'll remember
it's
that.
Good, in it. It's a nice one.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I've sort of thought about a lot is that because you can sort of get in your own head when you're playing, and you think, I'm going to mess this up and these lot are all going to think I'm rubbish. And what you don't realise is that the audience don't want you to make a mistake. They want you to kill it because they want to have a good time. You can almost get into your head that they're the enemy and you're trying to prove yourself.
That's a brilliant thing you said, yeah.
It's the complete opposite of that.
Completely. I used to get a little bit nervous for these podcasts, genuinely. And I was thinking... Somebody's drove 20 minutes, 30 minutes, sometimes nearly an hour. I've had people all the way here to come and sit on the back of a bus in the cold on a farm, peacock noises, cockerels, whatever you got going. They've made that decision, conscious decision to come. They're not here to make my time a hard time. Do you know what I mean? And I got in my headspace, especially with all the politics and everyone being very polar at the minute. I got nervous to people. I was like, what if I say the wrong thing? And what if I offend them? Or what if I do this? Yeah. We're going to get in a bad back and forth. And I was thinking, no, you're a good guy. You know they're wanting to be here. Let's create a good space together. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I've turned them into the enemy by accident sometimes.
Yeah. No, that I totally understand that from the same perspective.
Awesome
it's like,
thought.
I find that if it's the... You know, if I do a small show and there are, say, 50 people in there, it's a bit awkward. They're the sort of gigs when I'm feeling nervous and I feel like I'm going to mess something up. You know, if we walk out to a festival and there's a few thousand people watching, I don't feel any of that because the atmosphere is already there. You're like, everybody's buzzing to get up there. You know it's going to be a sick show.
Wow.
And I get so much more nervous playing the little shows than I do playing to, God knows, like, no matter how many people.
Can you remember the first time you stepped foot into an audience like that?
How do you mean?
Like onto a thousands scale. Can you remember the first gig you did where it was, oh, this is a little bit bigger than the Queen's Head?
That would have been Bearded Theory Festival 2017. May 2017. It was when I did my first festival with Ferocious Dog.
That's what I missed you there because I was doing the... teaching the kids. They have like a bit where the kids can go and do sessions.
Oh, cool.
And I did want to come see you at that point because I think I'd just about met you and known you. But yeah, I had to do that session, so I was gutted. But that was your first bosh.
Yeah, that was the first one, and I expected to be really nervous, and I was a little bit running up to it. I was buzzing more than anything. I was just excited. I couldn't wait for it. But at the same time, it was sort of lurking back there. I thought there's going to be a lot of people there, and then literally on the day, didn't feel any of that. It was just like, yeah, let's get up there, let's do it. And that
was it
because of the
incredible
atmosphere and it was amazing. And that's why we just keep chasing it all the time.
From the sound that you get at a pub to the sound that you create on a main stage, is it different in your headphones, in your head, in everything that goes off? Can you really tell it as a performer?
I feel like I can as a drummer in particular, because when you're mic'd up and you know, just to play a kit that makes you feel like an absolute powerhouse. Now, I'm playing a kick drum that is making hundreds or thousands of people's chest. And that's an incredible feeling doing that. And it's especially when you're zoned in, and it's almost sometimes I sort of forget that it's me playing it, and I'm just sort of listening to it and having a joke with the band pulling faces and that, and because it can feel so natural when you've played it so many times. In terms of the actual sound, I'm using in-ears now on stage with the band, so and we've got like a Luke, our sound guy's built a big thing. Again, I don't know much about tech, so that we get the exact same sound. Everybody gets the exact same sound. It's consistent at every show, so it can sound the same, but it feels different. And then because you've got these in-ears in that sort of block the sound out, sometimes, like say on the big finish or something, I'll take one earphone out so you can hear all the crowd going, or we'll have like an ambient mic to pick some of the crowd up, so that's coming through our ears as well.
With a Ferocious Dog, is there a lot ahead? Is there a big plan?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There's we've got sort of, summer's been filling up nicely, COVID depending again. We've got plenty of festivals lined up. I can't wait for Why Not, and it's Why Not's the festival that I
is that this year?
Yeah. July 30th we're playing at Why Not, and it's like, that was one of the first festivals I ever went to when we were in sixth form. We're just old enough to drink, and it was we started going to Why Not Festival for like 3 or 4 years in a row, and obviously being in that crowd thinking like, oh wow, imagine being that guy. And now we're booked to play it. I can't wait for that one,
mate.
So I'm hoping to God it's about 2 weeks after the new restriction deadline, so hopefully that goes ahead.
Oh dude.
And then end of the year we've got the album comes out October 15th, and we've got a full UK tour. As of that, it's the biggest tour we've ever done, so hopefully after all this time off, we're going to get straight in.
I get genuine goosebumps for you, man. As you're talking and I'm looking at your face as you're saying it, it's so meaningful.
Oh, yeah,
I'm like, he's doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my life revolves around that.
Where's this UK tour? How many venues are you doing? Do you know?
I think there's about 26 shows on the tour. And we're doing... The week that the album comes out, we've got 9 shows in a row, every day playing. And then the day after that, the day after that, just our first day off with Ferocious Dog, I've got a gig with Concrete Rose.
Wow!
So I've got 10 days in a row. So that'll be like blow the cobwebs off a bit.
Very different vibe, though.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Which is lucky for you. Yeah, you could end up like overkill.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, here's a little bit of reggae vibe.
Reggae, right in the middle as well.
Mush it up, but. What do you do? Go on a big bus? What are you doing together? Have you got?
Yeah, we've got the dog bus.
Is it called a dog bus?
Yeah, we like to call it that.
The old dog bus.
So we've got the.
Is that because there's a bunch of dirty dogs on there?
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah.
We've got the bunks, and then there's like a communal area at the back where we sit and drink, and usually all
blacked out.
Yeah,
blacked out windows.
I think so.
I bet you feel the bloody bollocks, don't you?
And then we've got the beds on there. So I like to sleep a lot when we're away.
Yeah,
and I can sleep anywhere. I could get a full 8 hours here if you left me for 5 minutes.
Because when you're driving about, are all the cars trying to look in and see this famous band on, or do you actually just have a massive picture of all you up on the side of the bus?
Well, it's sort of a white bus, blacked out windows, but we like to play a game where, because the windows are blacked out, we're banging out windows, giving it a bit of this every time somebody. We all know they can't see us, but it never gets old.
Yeah, I love that. Like on Ali G when he does that, but like the coppers are there. Yeah. And who was it? Who plays his mate in Ali G? It's the Hobbit guy, Martin.
Oh, Freeman? Yeah.
I think he's Martin Freeman. And Ali G's like, oh, bro, watch this. And he does the whole finger. And then Martin Freeman's like, oh, sick.
That's basically what he's like.
That scene literally kills me every time. He plays that role so good.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I like diverse actors.
Yeah.
Your acting role in the film, I saw some of your very intense looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm no actor, that's for sure. Again, like I was saying earlier, I'm just trying so hard not to laugh the whole time.
Yeah.
Especially with the torches as well. Like I say, we were like, right, we've got one shot at this. We've waited all day for it to get dark. And I'm walking going,
oh, man, I know it.
I'm just trying so hard not to smirk.
My mate, have you heard of Project Zeus?
I don't think so.
Oh, they're coming to do a busking session here on the weekend. And we do another podcast called Series of Theories together.
Yes.
So we just ask the big questions. They're very funny. But my mate Sam is a mint guy. He's just not a doer. So he's got all these ideas, but they don't come to fruition, and I wish they would, because they're really good ideas. So I am a doer. I make stuff happen. I'm like, we're doing it then. So I took his idea, and he wants to do sort of a sitcom, bit Little Britain-esque, maybe not say too much about it, but playing about with modern ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get like a few actors together. I know quite a few. I'm going to do the film and act. So me and Chrissy, while we've been driving recently, I've been doing some acting with her on ways to places we're going. Like went to the beach the other day for baby's first beach day.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, let's do some acting on the way. And I'm just killing it, laughing. I tried to go like this to that. I was like, you're my baby. And I was nearly going to crash because I was laughing so hard. It's going to be impossible. And even the other day I did a music video with Gemma Danielle at Moogie Studios. Go check it out in Notts. Herbie runs it. And it was really cool. We've got a white backdrop, and basically the song's about us two not being in love anymore, but not talking about it, not showing our emotions, just being very sat there. But then we had our silhouettes at the back, and they're portraying the emotions.
I saw that image. That's cool.
Oh, mate, I'm so excited about this film. I'm really proud of the premise, and we brought it together.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. But all I had to do was this. I'm not making this up, and I know people just listen to this sometimes, but if you're watching, it's of a nonchalant, no expression face of just sat there going... That's all I needed to do. And I was dying at some points. I was just proper laughing. I had no reason to at all. It's as soon as he pressed action, I was gone. What is it about that? The mind just triggers for us, doesn't it?
That's what I was saying earlier about we're doing these promo videos for the album coming up, and so I was sat at the drums and the other guys were stood around me, and Justin was filming, and it was like, so I think Ken said, "Oh, the album's out October 15th," and then Ryan said, "Stream it now on Spotify." Then we do another one. Stream it now on Amazon. You know what I mean? And so I wasn't doing it. All I had to do was sit at the drums, and I couldn't contain myself because our bassist, like he always does, let out the loudest fart when we started the camera up, and it was. The bit that I found so funny is that a couple of the other guys, you could tell, were getting a bit fed up now. Like, stop.
Let's get this done. Yeah.
And I had sunglasses on. I had my cap on to sort of try and look inconspicuous at the back, and I just could not stop laughing.
Oh, no.
He'd just do little things like he'd just wait till they're talking, and he'd just put his arm around me and just put his hand on my shoulder like that, and I just burst out laughing because I know what he's doing.
Nearly done with you for a minute.
Oh yeah,
like, Alex, come on,
definitely.
Man.
I didn't even have to say anything, but even doing so, I just sat there like,
oh,
I just can't do it.
Yeah, I know that. Do you like Ricky Gervais?
I love him.
Oh, mate. So you like The Office and that?
Oh, yeah.
Have you watched his blooper stuff? I mean, his blooper stuff of anything's good. But who's the guy that eats the Scotch egg in The Office? Kevin, yeah. Didn't they have to not do that scene and do it for another day? They had to postpone it, I think, because it got to take 82 or something stupid, and they just went, nah, we're going to leave this because it's Ricky's stupid laugh
that he screams in the background. You just hear him, don't you?
And that Kevin, he is so plain faced, but he even broke character so many times. I think my favourite thing what Ricky does is gets Carl to laugh. If you can make Carl Pilkington laugh, you've done something good. And do you like Idiot Abroad?
Yeah, I've not seen it all, but I enjoy the bits I've seen.
It's good. There's a little bit where Carl has to do this land jump because he won't do a bungee. So eventually he sends him to this tribe in the middle of Africa and goes to this, and it's the people that invented the bungee. So he goes and he does this land jump and he only jumps like 4 foot. So Ricky goes, so you're telling me that if you would have fallen over and hit your head on the ground, you would have fell from a bigger height, your head, from this 4 foot jump he does? And as he says it, like, Carl realises how silly he is doing this 4 foot jump and he just starts proper cackling. And every time that scene comes on, I'm gone. I just laugh my arse off because it's Carl breaking character.
Yeah.
Do you have any scenes in films that can't?
I was going to say about that, one of the bloopers from The Office is when David Brent's talking to Tim Thingy Freeman again, and he's talking about, in a few years, when he says that you could be in the hot seat, is that one, and then every time he's just
pointing his hands down,
he just bursts out laughing every time. And there's about 20 different bloopers where he tries something that was going, giving it all that.
I think they had that moment that you had with the band where they just were done with him for a bit. It's like, come on, because he was doing it he's an antagonist, and he was just doing something different every time. And Tim goes, no, you can't do that, because he. It just does a completely different gesture.
It's just
that's so funny.
It's just so ridiculous.
And another blooper, we can get onto bloopers all day because I watch them religiously. The Extras with Kate Winslet. Have you seen that one? And they're doing the cock talk, sex talk on the phone.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's so fun because she's a nun in this film that they're making, and actually the behind the scenes that Kate Winslet is like really filthy is the joke. And what's Ricky Gervais's friend called in Extras? Is it Maggie?
Oh, I can see her.
Maggie. So her boyfriend wants to do phone sex, but she doesn't know how to do it. So Ricky Gervais and Kate Winslet are giving her like ideas on it. And then there's a scene where Maggie and her boyfriend's actually there, and when they're talking to one another, behind, like Kate Winslet is mocking them, so she's doing like dead sexual things like with the phone and like licking her boob and that. And there's a point where the boyfriend looks round and every time everyone just corpses. They're just laughing their arse off because it's like, this is Kate Winslet, a Grammy award winning Kate Winslet, and she's just pretending to be on her phone licking her boob. Oh dude, Ricky Gervais is probably one of the greatest writers of all time for me.
Yeah, he's certainly one of my favourites.
He knows exactly how to incorporate emotion. Do you know what I mean? It can take you from high to low to high to low to laughter. Oh man,
you must have seen Afterlife on Netflix.
Well, man, I got put off it by my dad, and then I just didn't go to watch it. But everyone keeps telling me to watch it, and it's the one I've not watched.
That's the perfect example of what you were just saying. In that, I'll be in stitches one scene and then crying the next. And not a lot of stuff can make me cry when I watch it, but I love it when something does.
Dude,
I'm like, oh yeah, get it all up. It's quite satisfying.
Crying is beautiful, isn't it? He did it in Derek to me, the last episode of Derek when he meets his dad. Actually. Oh, bro, so okay, I'll go and watch Afterlife, you go and watch Derek.
Sounds like a plan.
And we'll come and do another podcast just on that alone. I'd be so happy.
Ricky Gervais Appreciation Podcast.
Yeah. I think we could do it because I've got enough knowledge there. But my dad, he watched Afterlife and I kind of like what my dad likes. I'm into similar things. And he just said it was really contrived. He was sort of playing for that emotion, whereas sometimes in Office or Extras or some of the other things like Derek has done, it was quite organic and the emotion comes with it and the funny bits come. And my dad was like saying he'd really built for, here's a sad bit, here's this bit, and he said it was contrived. So I don't know, I didn't go to watch it. I wasn't an independent thinker.
Not sure I agree. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
When we get off here, we'll twat him together. Go and have it. So we've spoken quite a bit about Concrete Rose. We'll get to the end. I've got to edit these, man. I've got a baby to look at.
Oh, sorry, mate.
But we've not spoken enough about Concrete Rose, I don't feel. So, there's a big congratulations here because you've won a recent competition.
Well, we're through to the final of...
I mean, that's close enough to me. That's close enough.
We'll take that.
But... what did you enter? Did you just put a song in or
it was
voted for?
It's Music's Future Sound of Nottingham.
Awesome.
And it's so you had to enter a song, and this was just to play for the finals at Rock City. So they were sort of saying, oh, do this to play at Rock City, and the winner of the final gets to play at Splendour Festival.
Sick.
So we're like, it's a good thing to get under the band's belt. So we entered that, got through to the final. I think it was about 2015 something. We entered into the semi-final, which was a voting thing, and we came second out of that, so we're obviously through to the final as well. So, it was cool.
You still owe me a $5 for voting and sending it everywhere, mate.
Sorry. Don't say that. If anybody watching this that's voting
But literally, you came second out of all that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, which was great.
Who came first, you know?
They were... I can't remember the name because it was a series of letters.
Okay.
I can't remember what the abbreviation was.
Awesome.
Sorry, forgive me.
Yeah. I mean, they're better than you, obviously anyway, so forget it. They're laughing at you now.
No, the stats don't lie.
But that's really exciting, man.
Yeah, that should be cool. Unfortunately, it's looking like it's going to be postponed again.
Yeah.
Regulations, but sure we'll get there.
Are you really happy that you have two very versatile bands to play for? Does it give you that mixture that you need?
Yeah, definitely. Because Ferocious Dog sort of, I get to use the experience and the knowledge that I learned through Ferocious Dog and apply that to Concrete Rose, which was one of the reasons why I wanted to start the band in the first place, was that I'd learned so much from playing with Ferocious Dog about just how the industry works and, you know, all the insider knowledge of being like, I sort of want to apply this to my own project as well, which is obviously then I met Lewis, and I mean, it was mainly because I wanted to play reggae, but it was sort of, you know what I mean? It was those factors that...
I'm going to ask you the one question now that's going to kick you out of one band, but do you have a preference? Is that not of band and members, because obviously you just love all of them, but is there a style of music that you think, oh, I'm really in my zone now?
To be honest, it depends which day you ask me on.
Okay, that's cool. It's
sort of whichever band I'm playing with, I'm like, yeah, I love this, man.
Because I don't play the drums, but as a drummer, I just suspect that you want to be twatting them as hard as you can.
You'd think so, yeah. I think it quite often starts like that. When, like, you know, like you start playing in bands and you're like, oh, I just want to shred and play punk beats. And then it was sort of, I had that for a long time. And then it was later on that I got into reggae, and it was sort of the complete opposite direction. It was like less about just smashing the shit out of them.
Make love to the drums.
Yeah, exactly that. It's all about the feel, and it's as much as about what the space you're leaving as opposed to what you are playing. And I feel like reggae takes more experience as a drummer, as a musician.
Is it quite tricky?
And yeah, it certainly was to start with, because I was trying to unlearn everything I thought I knew. And sort of, I think we touched on it last time about how reggae was sort of created by guys who didn't have access to lessons and,
it was Kane Ashmore that told me it come from an accident in they were making a song, and in production they were like, oh, there's a beat there, leave it in.
Yeah, that's one of the theories where it was Bob Marley recording in the studio and they left the delay on, so as he goes chink, it was like chink 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 chink, and that's where like they came from. But obviously ska was a long time before that, and they were already putting the emphasis on the offbeat, so that sort of blueprint was laid beforehand. Right. So, but yeah, I'm not saying that's wrong. It's just it was sort of it depends. There are a lot of different theories about. I don't think there was any definitive point where ska became reggae. Though it was sort of the crossover between Toots and the Maytals and Bob Marley and the Wailers. That sort of time in the early 70s when. And
most discoveries are adaptations from trying to go a certain way. Some just come from absolute nowhere, but mainly there's things of existence that you build from and take from, and then go, oh, that sounds a bit like, let's try this then. Do you know what I mean? It builds from a magnitude of reasons, not just one.
Yeah, and you're collecting influence from between the band, hundreds of different artists, and you're sort of creating that into a mixture of everything. It's like Ferocious Dog's a good example, because we get compared to the Levelers a lot because we play a lot of shows with them. We're really good friends. We use, say, they got the violin lead and that sort of thing. But I don't necessarily think musically it's all that similar. Obviously, we have a lot of mutual influences and that sort of thing. But it's, tempo-wise and that's... I'm not playing a lot of the same stuff that, say, their drummer might be playing on their parts, which I think is quite the beauty of it, is that when we're playing together, we're sort of viewed as these similar bands, but yet we are so different musically. And it's... Like with Concrete Rose, we didn't necessarily form the band because we didn't say we want to create something totally original. I feel like it just sort of came about, and I do feel like we've achieved that with Concrete Rose. We have that sort of blend of it is a reggae band, but it's different.
It's
at the same time.
It's its own entity, isn't it? I enjoy that the most out of my favourite bands. One of my like Fat Freddy's Drop. Do you know them?
Yeah.
Again, the moment I heard them, just on a random rabbit hole of YouTube, and I was looking for new artists, new bands, new music, and that just came up through all my algorithms, hit me, and it was so special. I thought, what band, what is this? Because it's cool, it's reggae, but it can't just be reggae. I put it in, 17 different genres come up, and I went, and that genuinely, if I look at most of the artists that I like, I mean, obviously the Streets and so on, if you type in them, it's grime, it's spoken word, it's got so much behind it, and it's enjoyable as an artist, isn't it, to have that variety.
And I find it feels like you're achieving something, you're treading new ground. I don't necessarily want to form a band to play and sound like our favourite band. I want to sound like
Pioneer.
Exactly. And
let's make a band, man. Let's be the pioneers.
Is that sort of what you aim for when you say start a new project, like a new album, even like this new album with Ferocious Dog? I always imagine that the ideal aim is to create a piece of work that sounds like Ferocious Dog, but it sounds unlike anything we've done before. And we've achieved that with this album, I think so, for sure.
I've discovered that on my musical journey. Like, I started out with poetry. I've really enjoyed that. And then I had rap mates. Tried it. Completely. Do what everyone does. You're finding your style, finding your sound throughout. And I'm like, I hate this. I've never learnt music before, so to beat and so on. But now I discovered into the lo-fi sound, which is a bit more giving, and you can explore with it. You don't have to edit too much of your work as well. As a spoken word artist, with rap, you're sort of limited to these syllables fit in this beat. Lo-fi becomes explorative, and when a sentence doesn't fully fit, you can stop it and carry it on and stop. Do you know what I mean? And I've gone down that direction. It feels right. Do you know what as an artist you go, oh yeah, this is what I want to be doing. And I've got to that point in my art now where the feeling's fully there, so I know it's what I should be doing.
And at the same time, it's like, I'm sure over time you'll adapt on that, and you'll take that in a new direction yourself. It's like, say, even with me playing reggae with one band and folk punk, as they call it, with another. Totally different genres, completely different, certainly from a drummer's perspective. And it's like, I don't feel like I have to go in one direction. I can do as many as I like. If I enjoy doing something, then I'm going to do it. And it's even within the bands themselves as well. We sort of, with Concrete Rose, we've got some songs that are straight up reggae or straight up rootsy tune. And then we've got some songs that could be played by a rock band.
Yeah. I enjoy that in your albums. It is very eclectic, 100%. Is there stuff you're allowed to talk? Is there anything under there?
We're writing at the minute.
Yeah?
There definitely will be something, yeah.
Okay.
So we're on it again.
Oh,
for
mate.
Sure. We've had quite a few shows come in for later in the year as well, so it'd be nice to, when we're out there playing again and the ball's rolling, that's when we write best.
I want you back here. That's what I want. When I go to show people, like, they were like, what, you got some buses on the farm, what do you do? I go on your page, I go down a little bit, and you've got a little clip of you guys on the little mini fest we did here. I show them that, and I go, that's what we do. That's the vibe. And oh man, it's such a pleasurable time, because I love you all. You're my mates as well. And it just feels that everybody in that audience, everyone, we're all a tribe. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We all go on our different paths and do our different successes and things, but that moment of us all coming together again, it fills my soul, man. Yeah, gives me a little bit of a recharge. Yeah. So we're gonna get you back on that.
The feeling's mutual.
But mate, thank you so much for coming back on this bus.
My pleasure.
I could talk to you forever, but I've got to edit it. And
you've got a little one as well.
Yeah, exactly. So just let people know, you've probably got all the different socials and everything to go to, but where you want people to go, what you want them to see at the minute. You've got the album, where would you want people's direction?
The big one at the minute is head to Ferocious Dog, pre-order the album. It's going to be a big one. It's going to.
What's the album called again?
The album's called The Hope.
The Hope.
The Hope. Yes.
Oh, I
available for pre-order now. It's out October 15th.
You're good at this, mate. I knew you got that in your repertoire. Salesman.
It's all up there.
And do people still have to vote for Concrete Rose? Is there anything else to vote on? Or?
The voting's over now. Stay tuned for our social media.
No, they're done now. No.
Well, we got through. So the final for Future Sound of Nottingham will take place. It's supposed to be 4th of July at Rock City, but obviously that remains to be seen with the new restrictions. So if keep your eyes out on our social media, then
brilliant.
I think that one's. I think it's a free event, so anybody that wants to get down and shows a bit of support,
I'll be there, buddy.
Of course.
Right. Well, thank you so much, guys. You've been a part of the Old Farm Bus, Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. Remember what we say to each other: just be nice to one another, you beautiful set of buggers. Have a good day. Cheers, my man.